So welcome to Big Data lecture series. So in this session we will see the architecture of Hive and the components of Hive. We will see the working of each and every component and its role. Let's have a look at on this diagram. So in this diagram we are having various components like JDBC and ODBC. Those are the drivers which are used to communicate with the database and front-end applications, and we are having command line interface, Hive Thrift server and Hive web interface. Now we'll see so it is a JDBC, ODBC, server connectivity, command line interface, Hive Thrift server and Hive web interface, and we are having one more block that is called the driver, Hive drivers. Now Hive drivers are responsible for compilation and execution of the programs and the scheduling of the jobs, scheduling of tasks are going to be done with the help of drivers. And at the bottom level, Hive will have the map reducer and HDFS. That means on top of HDFS and map reduce will implement Hive concepts. And here we are having a meta store. There are three different types of meta stores that we will see in later. And we are performing activities on the traditional RDBMS storage environment. So these are the various components of Hive architecture: JDBC, ODBC drivers, command line interface, Hive Thrift servers, Hive web interface, Hive drivers, meta store, and Hadoop and MapReduce. Now we will see what is the objective of each and every component of Hive architecture. So the first one is Hive CLI, that is command line interface. It is most commonly used interface to interact with the Hadoop environment. So whenever you want to access data or whenever you want to store data in Hadoop environment, the commonly used approach is command line interface. And when it comes to Hive web interface, it is the simplest graphical environment or interface to interact with Hive and to display the results of the query. That means in order to produce visualized results and visualized query outputs, we can use Hive web interface component. And third one is a Thrift server, or you can say Hive Thrift. Now it's a cross-language service framework. Cross-language service framework. It is an optional server. Whenever you want to interact with the cross-platform and cross-language interface, we will use the Thrift server. Now what is the main objective of Thrift server? It is used to submit Hive jobs from a remote client. That means whenever you want to assign a task or a job to a remote client, or whenever you want to access the data from a remote client, Thrift server is going to be used. And the fourth component is JDBC and ODBC. Java database connectivity and open database connectivity are the components are used to submit data, or the components are the jobs from a client location. That means whenever you want to access any client location from remotely, we can use either JDBC connectivity or ODBC connectivity. And another major component is Metastore. So Metastore is about Hive tables and partitions. That means how many number of partitions have been created, and each partition how many number of buckets have been created. That means all the units of Hive like database, tables, partitions and buckets, all the flow all the way from database to buckets will be organized with the help of Metastore. Now there are three different kinds of Metastores are available. They are embedded Metastore, local Metastore and remote Metastore. The graphical representation of these three types of Metastores we'll see in the next slide. And another component is the driver. Driver, we can say it is a brain of the hive. That means the total working of hive is under the control of drivers only. That means hive queries are sent to the drive. That means whatever queries we want to execute, those queries will be sent to the driver block. Now the compilation, execution and parsing of the queries will be done with the help of driver module. That means in driver or using the driver module, we can do the basic fundamental activities like performing a parsing operations, or whenever you want to compile, it will do the compilation, the basic compilation of the queries, execution of the queries are done under driver module. So that's why we are calling it as a brain of the hive. Now, these are the three different types of metastores. Now, there are three different types of metastores: local metastore, embedded metastore, local metastore, and remote metastore. Let us have a look on this diagram. Now, when we are using a embedded metastore, now for every metastore, for every basic activity on Hive, we are taking the help of Java programming. So here we require Java virtual machine in order to complete the metastore activities. Now look at here on the embedded metastore. Now a driver, that means Hive driver is submitting jobs to the metastore and it is going to be executed in any one of the database. That means the job has been submitted to the metastore. Metastore will maintain the basic information of all the tables and partitions which are created. So here they are using a database called Derby. The second type of local metastore is, so here what we are doing, here more than one driver or more than one job is getting executed with the help of metastore. So here we are using two drivers and each and every driver is submitting a job to the metastore and all the jobs and the relevant tables and partitions are going to be stored and accessed from MySQL database. That means in order to execute or compile more than one job at a time, local metastore is going to be used. And the third one is remote metastore. To access any job or to execute any job in remotely or to execute cross-platform oriented, we can go for remote metastore. Now here, let us look at here. A driver can submit multiple jobs at a time. So here driver 1 is submitting a job to the metastore server JVM and one more to another metastore server JVM. Like this, second driver is also submitting two jobs simultaneously to different metastores. That means more than one job can be created or handled by a driver at a time and all are getting stored and accessed from MySQL server. So here the major objective and the main objective of Hive metastore is it is used to store the basic information of tables. That means what are the tables we have been created in Hive environment, list of databases and list of partitions which have been created on the tables and list of buckets which have been created for every partition. This is the workflow or you can say unit flow of data in Hive. So at the top level we will have database and in database we will have tables and every table data is going to be splitted into partitions and every partition will have a subset of buckets that we'll see in coming slides. So these are the three different types of metastores that we are creating in Hive environment. And Now just we'll see the complete primitive data types which are going to be offered in Hive environment. So here there are four major data types which are going to be offered there: numeric data type, date and time data type, string data type, and miscellaneous data type. That means all types of data types we are representing in a single slide here. Under numeric we are having two subcategories there: integral and float data type. Integral data types and float data types. Under integral we are having four commonly used data types. They are tiny int, small int, integer, and big int. Tiny int, small int, integer, and big int. In tiny int it will use it to store 1 byte of information, whereas small int it is used to store 2 bytes of information. Integer will store 4 bytes of information, whereas big int will store 8 bytes of information. So, and to represent decimal values and decimal portion content, we can go for floating point. Now under float data type we are having float, double precision, decimal, and numeric. These are the various data types that we can use under floating type. And the second type of data type under primitive category is date and time. So in order to store date and time related values like login time of an employee, employee date of birth and employee joining information, invoice time and date of generation, if you want to store all those information, we can take the help of this data type. So in this we are having three subcategories. They are timestamp, date, and interval. To represent or to store a specific amount of time or time of generation or a time of event happen, we can use timestamp. This timestamp will go up to a nanoseconds. That means we can store up to nanoseconds of information or time. To represent or to store date related values or activities, we will use date data type. And to represent a period or range of values, we can use interval data type. And when it comes to third category, that is string data type. So in string data type, that means character related, string related values if you want to store, like name of an employee, name of the department, product name, country name, like that. If you want to store any character related, string related, we will use string data type. In string we are having three categories. They are string, varchar, and char data type. String, varchar, and char. Char is a fixed character string data type. That means it will not allow variable length of values. Let us take, if you want to store name of an employee, here we assign only 10 characters. If the name of the employee is having 15 characters, then it will take only first 10 characters. Remaining 5 characters are going to be neglected or will not be considered. But if you store this name of the employee using a varchar, it is a fixed, it is a variable length in nature. Let us take, even though we declared size as 10 characters, if you are trying to enter 15 character information, it won't reject or it won't delete the data. Directly it will accept it. And the fourth category it is miscellaneous. When we want to store or represent true or false values or binary values like 0 and 1, we can use miscellaneous type, that is Boolean and binary. So this is the complete overview of various different types of primitive data types that we can use in Hive environment. They are numeric data type, date time, string, and miscellaneous data types. Now here, what are the different types of file formats that Hive will offer? That means if you want to store the data in a Hive environment, what are the formats it will support? So here for Hive will support nearly 3 different types of file formats basically. They are text file, sequential file and record columnar file. In short form we will call it as a RC file format. In textual file it is a by default each and every file is going to be stored only in the form of text file. So it is in the only textual content is going to be stored and it is a default format. And second category is whenever you want to store a key value paired information that we are accessing from Hadoop environment, then we can use sequential file. So sequential file is a flat file which are used to store all the values that we are accessing from either from Hadoop or HDFS or from MapReduce. Each and every value is going to be represented in the form of key and value pair representation. So to store key and value paired data, we can use sequential file format. And third category which is offering is RC file format. It is the data is going to be stored in column oriented file format. That means data is going to be stored in every column. Later it will move to another column. And in order to perform basic aggregation operations, we can apply easily on RC file format. Now these are the 3 different types of file formats that Hive is offering. They are textual file, sequential file and RC file format. Now this is the file format of RC file format. So in this example we are having a table data or a data which has been accessed from relational table here. So here we are having 4 columns of information like A, B, C, D, and every column is having some set of values. Now what we are doing, we are storing the data in a RC file format, and after that we are storing it in a required HDFS location. Now let us have a look how it is going to be stored. In RC file format, row wise or group wise data is going to be stored in HDFS environment. Now in every HDFS block data, the complete whatever data we are accessing from this relational table is going to be stored in the form of a row wise. Let's look at here. Here there is a representation of row 1 or row group 1. Now every group is having a fixed amount of size with some metadata header. In previous slides we discussed about 3 different types of metadata. Now what metadata will have? The table information like table creation, the schematic information of table, instances of the table are going to be stored in this metadata header. So every row group, that means whatever block here we are having, every block will be in this format. The first one is we'll have 16 bytes synchronous information and later 16 bytes of metadata header. And after that, here we are having the complete data has been represented in a row format. Look at here. In this here, what are the first values here? 101, 111, 121 and 131. So as we discussed earlier, RC is going to be represent the data in a column oriented format. So here we are having 101, 111, 121 and 131. All the 4 values has been represented in a column fashion. Second row we are having 102, 112, 122 and 132 are going to be represented in second column. That means let us take a mathematical example. Here we converted data into rows into columns and columns into rows. That means transpose has been happened. Look at here. Here the first column we are having 101 to 105. These values are represented in a row format. So whatever format we are using, it is not a different. But in RC file format, it will store data in a column oriented format only. Like this, we are going to create number of groups up to n number. Every group will have fixed amount of size and every group will have some header data. That header data will have 16 bytes of synchronous information and a minimum of 16 bytes of metadata header. So this is the representation of data in a RC file format. The different types of partitions that Hive will offer. So in previous slides we discussed about different types of Hive units like database, creation of database, alteration of database and drop of database. Like this, we have seen the syntax of how to create a table, how to drop a table and how to insert a value in a table. Now we are moving into another third data unit of Hive is partition. Now before going into the partition, let us see what are the types of partitions that it is offering. So basically there are two different types of partitions that Hive will offer. They are default partition and custom partition. Now what is meant by partition here? Dividing the data into smaller amount of pieces. Let us take in a database we are having 1000 tables. Instead of storing all the 1000 tables in a single location, let us distribute all the 1000 tables into 10 different partitions. Every partition will have 100 tables. If you are having 1000 tables, every partition will have 100 tables and we divide it into 10 partitions. Total will have 1000 tables. That means the total work or data which has been located in a single location is going to be distributed among 10 partitions. Now, if you want to do by default, that means if we allow us Hive to do the partitioning directly, we can say it is default partitioning. Or user level, if you want to specify some partitioning level and the size of the partition, we can go for custom partition. Under custom partitioning, we are having two subcategories and subtypes. They are static partitioning and dynamic partitioning. In static partitioning, every partition will have a fixed amount of size. That means in static partitioning, every partition will have a fixed amount of data and size. Let us take, here we are storing 10 bytes of information. Here also it will store 10 bytes of information. Now when it comes to dynamic partitioning, the size may vary. Here let us take, here we are having 10 bytes of data. In second partition it may have 15 bytes of data. Like this, the size of the partition can vary based on the requirement of the data. When we are using a static data type, under static there are two more subcategories and types. They are user existing column or using existing column or using new column. That means if you want to create a partitioning in already existed space, we can use the first option, or if you want to create a new partition block or a space, we can go for using new column. These are the various types of partitioning of the data from tables. We can go for a default partitioning or we can go for custom partitioning. Under custom partition, whether you can choose static partitioning or dynamic partitioning. Under static partitioning, either we can choose using existing column or we can create, or we can go with the using new column option. This is the basic information about two types of partitioning. So static partitioning and dynamic partitioning, because we are not focusing on default, we are focusing only on custom. Under custom we are having static and dynamic. Now it is upon the user to mention, the user has to mention the partitioning. That means here the specific amount has to be given for every partitioning. The segregation unit, how much amount of data that you want to move into a single partition, the user has to specify. That means where the data from the file is to be loaded. That means what is the source location, and from the source location which amount of size that we are allowing to store in partitioning, that has to be specified as a prior information. When it comes to dynamic partition, user is simply required to specify only the column. That means what is the column location we want to access the data, that only has to specify. Here no need to mention the size of the partitioning here, but whereas in static the user has to specify the static partitioning size. Now to create partitioning, let us see the commands here. So what a partitioning will do, it splits the data, the larger data set into more meaningful chunks. That means a larger file is going to be splitted into smaller subportion. Let us take this is a partition. That means the larger data set is going to be divided into a meaningful smaller chunks. Now as we discussed earlier, Hive will allow us to perform two types of partitioning, that is static and dynamic at the custom level. Now to create a static partitioning based on a column, let us take in the previous example we took a student table. In that we are having student name, roll number and GPA. Now for GPA we want to create a partition, that means only for GPA column of the table we want to create a partitioning. Let us see the syntax here. Here what we are doing, we are creating the table. Create table if not exist. Create table if not exist. These are the keywords we are using. Next, static part student. This is our user defined name. Static partitioning static underscore path underscore student. This is a user defined name. Now what are the elements of the student table? Roll number, name of the student with the data type integer and string, partitioned by, that means total student table is going to be partitioned based on GPA. Whatever number of columns we are having in student table, all columns are going to be partitioned into based on GPA value of the student. Now in which format we are partitioning into? We are partitioning into row wise format. That means specified number of rows based on the GPA value are going to be used. And now what are the delimited? That means for every row, every row is going to be terminated by using a tab symbol, that is /t. So this is the basic syntax to create a static partitioning on a table. Let's see this example again. In this example, we are creating a table. Create table if not exist, and we are applying a static partitioning. Static part student, roll number. These are the columns of the table. Like the table will look like this. We are having three columns here. One is just see the table syntax here. Here we are having three values here: roll number, name and GPA. So every table, every row will have three columns: roll number, name of the student and GPA. Now using this GPA we want to partition the table. Let us take here GPA 5.0, 6.1, 9.8, like this we are having all the values. We want to partition for a specific range, like we want to group all the values with a GPA range from 5.0 to 6.0 into one group, and second group we want to divide into 6.1 to 7.0, and third group we want to divide 7.1 to 8.0. Like this we want to make 5 subgroups. Now this is called partitioning. Now to apply 5 partitionings here, we used a keyword called partitioned by GPA. Here we are creating a table with 3 columns, and 2 columns have been mentioned at the declaration, and on which column we want to apply the partitioning, that we are applying in another line, that is using a keyword called partitioned by GPA. And in which format we want to do? We want to perform row format. That means all the values for partitioning with 5.0, let us take this row is going to be selected. Let us assume here also we are having one more row with 5.0. This row is going to be selected, and all the rows are going to be combined and kept in a single place. And after completion of every row selection, it has to go for the new row, that is delimited field terminated by using a /t symbol. So this is the syntax to create a partitioning in Hive environment. Now to load the data into partition table from the table. Now in first slide we seen how to create the partitioning. Now we are moving the data into the table. Now look at here. To load the data into the partition table, we have to use this keyword called insert. Insert overwrite table. If already data is existed, it is going to be overwritten. Insert overwrite table. On which table we are performing this loading data? Static part student based on partition call GPA 4.0. Now we are selecting only rows which will satisfy the condition GPA 4.0. Now what it will happen? It will display the content like select roll number, name from ext student where GPA equal to 4.0. In first two lines we have specified the required condition. In the last line, that is in the third line, we written a query to access all the rows with a specified condition GPA 4.0, and whatever rows which has been selected from this third statement will be saved into the partition. We created a partition, that is student part student. Now let us see what is happening here. Here initially we created a table called ext underscore student. Ext underscore student is the original table of the student database. Now in this database we are having three columns. They are roll number of the student, name of the student, and GPA. Let us take, we are having some values here. On this table we have written a query. The query is select roll number, name, select roll number and name from ext table where GPA equal to 4.0. Let us take, here we are having only one row with a GPA 4.0. Now this statement will retrieve only this first row. Let us see, the first row value is like this. Name of the student is XYZ, his roll number is 1214 and his GPA is 4.0. This is the record we got from the third statement. Now what the third statement will do? This record is going to be stored in this student path partition. That means in the second table we created a partition table. That partition table name is static underscore part underscore student. In this separate small table it will save the data like this. Name of the student is XYZ, so this is the partition is going to be created. Roll number is 1214, name of the student is John and his GPA is 4.0. This is the partition which has been created on ext underscore student table. So this is the way of accessing the data. Now to create a dynamic partitioning, what is the syntax here? To create a dynamic partitioning, here also we are having one more representation. We have to use a keyword call. Look at here, create table if not exist. Here also we given one user defined name, dynamic part student, dynamic underscore part underscore student. On which columns we are applying? We are applying partitioning on roll number and name of the student. What is the column we are using to partition? We are using GPA. So partitioned by using GPA float on row format. Delimited fields are terminated by /t. Now this is a syntax that we have to use to store the data. Now to load the data into dynamic partitioning, from a table we have to use these two keywords or two lines of code. Like here we have to set the path hive dot execute dot dynamic dot partition is equals to true. So this statement will enable the dynamic partitioning. If you don't want to use the dynamic partitioning, this will become false. And next, after setting that value, we have to do one more modification. Set hive dot execute dot dynamic dot partition dot mode is non-strict mode. That means duplicates can be allowed here. That means redundancy can be happen here. So these are, by using these two commands we can create or we can allow to perform dynamic partitioning. Now in dynamic partitioning, how the data is going to be stored and accessed in this. So look at here. It requires at least one static partitioning column that turn this off. At least one column should be a static column. Now look at here. Insert override table dynamic partition student partition with GPA. Select roll number, name, GPA from ext student. Now we are moving into another data unit called buckets. See, till now we have seen partitioning. So what is a partitioning? Partition is collecting the data from the tables and it is dividing into smaller packets or chunks and it is storing in. Now bucket is the smallest unit that is going to be used in partitioning. That means whatever data we are having in a partition, that data is going to be divided and split into buckets. That is smaller unit. That means initially we are having database. From database or in database what we are creating? Tables. On tables we are applying partitioning. On partitioning we are creating buckets. So if you look at closely, let us take this is a database in larger scale. In database we will have tables and all tables are going to be partitioned and every partition will have buckets. That is the minute level of accessing of the data. Now we will see how to create a bucket in Hive environment. So same syntactical here, create table if not exist. These are the default keywords. And what is the bucket name we are creating? Bucket name is student underscore bucket. And what are the columns that we are allowing in bucket? Roll number, name of the student and grade. Roll number, name, grade. And what we are applying, we want to create a group that we are calling it as clustered by, using a keyword called clustered by. Now this keyword will create a smaller data packet or smaller set of data. We can call it as a bucket. Grade into 3 buckets. That means total number of rows are going to be split into 3 separate smaller list. Let us take in the previous example, you have divided all the GPA 4.0 values. Let us take under GPA 4.0 we got 10 rows. Now if we supply these 10 rows, what will happen here? These 10 rows are going to be divided into 3 buckets. Like 4 rows may be in one data set, 3 value will be in one other, remaining 3 will be in another. That means all the 10 rows are divided into 4 smaller pieces. Now to create a bucket of size 3, this syntax is going to be used. Now how to load the data into bucket table? Load data to the bucket table. Now the syntax is, we are collecting data from student. From student, insert overwrite table. What is the table we are overwriting? Student underscore bucket. What are the values we are storing? Roll number, name and grade. That means these two statements will load the data from student table to student underscore bucket. It will transfer the data into a bucket. Now to display the values, we can use this statement. Select distinct grade from student underscore bucket. Select distinct grade. Here distinct keyword is used to eliminate duplicate values. Table sample bucket 1 out of 3. We want to display only one bucket out of 3 on grade. If you want to display all the 3, we can use 3 out of 3. Now the first 2 lines are used to create the bucket. These 2 lines are used to load the data into the bucket, and this line is used to store to display the values from the bucket. Now what is the difference between a partitioning versus bucket? As we already discussed, bucket is a default or minute representation of data, whereas bucket is a part of partitioning itself. Look at here. However, there is a subtle difference between partitioning and bucketing. In partitioning, you need to create the partition. That means we have to specify what is the size of each and every partitioning, what is the type of partitioning, that we have to mention clearly while creating a partitioning. Now whereas in bucket, that is a limited or minimum amount of data that we can store in a bucket. Now we can see the diagrammatic representation of partitioning versus bucket here. Look at here. Here we are displaying student details into a partitioning and bucket. Here we are having 2 partitions. The overall student details are divided into 2 categories, or we accessed or we created only 2 subfolders. First partitioning is Department of Electrical, Department of ECE. So here we collected student details of 2 branches, EEE and ECE. We can call it as those are 2 partitions. This is partition 1, this is partition 2. Now every partition will have smaller set of data that we can call it as a buckets. On partition 1, we created 2 buckets, that is bucket 1 and bucket 2. Now what is the content of columns that every bucket will have? Student ID, name and year. So this is the data overview that we are storing in either in partitioning or in buckets. Now the complete layout of all the units. So the primary level data storage we are storing in, or we are creating a database. After creating database, we are creating tables and we are inserting data into the tables. So here what we are doing, here we are creating various different tables, and whenever you want to store and access those tables in HDFS environment, HDFS will act as a directory, Hive directory. Now the tables whatever we are having in the directory are going to be subdivided into partitions. The blue colored symbols we can call it as a Hive partitions, that we can call it as a subdirectory. Partitions can also called as a subdirectory, and every partition will have the actual files of the data, that we can call it as a buckets. So this is the storage of data units, starting from database, tables, partitions and buckets. So bucket is the minute level data storage and accessing. Database, tables, partitions and buckets. So data file partitioning reduces query time. That means instead of searching on a complete and whole database, it will search only in a required partitioning. The processing time and query time will be reduced. Subdirectories are created for each unique partitioning based on the required data storage. So this is the complete view of Hive data units: database, tables, partitions and buckets. Now what are the different types of functions that Hive will offer? So basically there are 2 types of functions that we can apply on Hive. They are built-in functions and user-defined functions. We can perform built-in functions and user-defined functions. The built-in functions are, we can perform mathematical and numerical functions, we can apply collection functions, we can perform string functions, date functions and conditional functions, which are all familiar for us. Mathematical functions are numerical functions. We can perform string functions, collection functions, date and conditional functions. And there are some functions that Hive will offer, they are user defined functions. So here we are having three different types of UDFs. One is regular UDF, UDAF, user defined aggregate functions, and UDTF, user defined table generating functions. That means we are having user defined functions, user defined aggregate functions, user defined table generation functions, UDF, UDAF, UDTF. These are the three different types of user defined functions we can apply on Hive, and there are some inbuilt functions. There are 5 categories of functions. We will see one by one. Here aggregate operations. So under UDF we can apply some UDAF, user defined aggregate functions or aggregate operations. Basically aggregations are means whenever you want to perform summations to find out minimum, maximum, average, we can apply these aggregate functions. Hive supports aggregate functions like average, count, minimum, maximum and summation. To write average, count aggregation functions, we will use the syntaxes like select average GPA from student table. That means it will retrieve all the records from the table based on the GPA value, and for all the GPA values it will calculate average. That average is going to be displayed. To see the total number of records, we will use select count star from students. Now these are the UDF and table generation, UDAF and UDTF aggregate functions. Now how they will offer it? See, in aggregate functions we will use single input row, single output row. That means the aggregate functions are going to be applied on each and every row. So it will take one input row, that means one row from the table, it will apply the UDF function and result will be reflected on the concerned row. At a time it will take a single row and it will be supplied to the UDF function and you will get the single output row. Now if you want to apply table generating options, here also same. We will apply a single input row and we will apply UDTF functions, and what happens, it will result, it will generate multiple output rows. Whereas in UDAF only one output row is going to be generated, whereas in tabular representation it will generate multiple output rows. Now we can also apply group by and having functions. Group by and having function. That means if you want to group all the values based on a specific condition, we can use a class called group by, and if you want to apply in a specific condition on selection of the group of values, we can use having class or having function. Look at here, select roll number, name, GPA from student table. We want to group all the students based on name, roll number, GPA, and having GPA is greater than 4.0. Instead of selecting all the values, we want to group all the required records based on the condition greater than 4.0. That means it will select all the student details whose value, GPA value is greater than 4.0, and less than 4.0 records will not be taken into consideration, and all the values which has been returned based on the condition are going to be grouped here, and finally it will display the table in this format. like roll number, name and GPA with only 4.0 and higher value of GPA. This is the final output format it is going to be displayed. To group all the values, we will use group by, and under group by or on group by, if you want to apply any specific condition, we will go for having class. Now, what is SCRDE? Serialization and deserialization. Whenever you are accessing or whenever we are accessing data from HDFS environment, and after doing data processing activities, again if you are storing data in HDFS environment, while accessing and while storing, we will apply these two techniques, deserialization and serialization. So, SCRDE is a short form of serialization and deserialization. Serializer and deserializer. Hive uses SCRDE to read and write table rows. To read and to write, it will use deserializer and serializer. Now look at the accessing path of the data. We are accessing data from HDFS files. We are creating an input file or input file format based on key value pair, applying deserialize, perform it on row wise. Accessing data, that means we are doing read operation. Read the data from HDFS file in the given input file format based on key value pair, apply the deserializer row object, and we are applying reverse, that is write operation. Now look at the path here. Reverse, row wise, apply serializer based on key value pair information, output file format, store it in a HDFS file environment. This is the write operation. That means if you are combining read and write operations, we will call it as a serializer and deserializer. Generally, in Java environment or in JSON environment, to perform read write operations on HDFS file format, we will use serializer and deserializer. The deserializer stands for serializer and deserializer. Now what it will convert unstructured data into records. It is going to be implemented using Java, mainly used in JSON environment. Serializers are used at the time of writing. Deserializers are used at the time of reading or query reading time. So with this we completed some basic concepts of Hive and components of Hive, structures of Hive and units of Hive in environment like database, tables, partition and buckets, and we have seen the syntactical representation of creation of a database, creation of a table, creation of a bucket and creation of a partition. Now these are the common some of the fill in the blanks. Try to answer. Have a look at on this fill in the blanks. The metastore consists of dash and dash. What a metastore consists of? Most commonly used interface to interact with Hive is. So we are having two types of interfaces. So among, select the appropriate one. The default metastore for Hive is. So we are having three types of metastores. Among those three, identify the correct one. Metastore contains dash Hive of tables. What type of tables a metastore will contain? And last one, dash is responsible for compilation, optimization and execution. Among the Hive architecture, pick the correct module or component which we can call it as a brain of the Hive. So with this we completed the concepts. These are the some of the references we can visit. Thank you for the session.